What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your man Chazz Ellis once again. And I want to show you something that DDG, y'all might know him as a rapper, moonwalking in Calabasas. You might know him as Holly Bailey's boyfriend, baby daddy. You might know him as a streamer, a YouTuber. He's done a whole lot. But I want to show something that he said about people working a 9 to 5. Now, he got a little bit of backlash for it, but I'm going to give you my opinion after you listen.
A 9 to 5 should only be used to fund your own business. Like, I don't think nobody should ever get a job and say, I'm going to be the 10-year best employee of the year. Like, nobody should ever think that.
I got nothing but respect for young dudes getting money, old dudes getting money, but young dudes who made it and were able to accomplish their dreams, nothing but respect. So this is no diss to him, and it's not trying to down him in any way. But the problem that I have when people talk about 9 to 5 versus entrepreneurship is they're generally talking about the lowest level 9 to 5 versus the highest level of entrepreneurship. It's like you can make your own hours, you're gonna be getting money, you shouldn't be working at this job for 10 years. See, when you make that kind of a comparison, it's basically making it seem like you're gonna start out working as an entrepreneur and you're gonna make your own hours. You're gonna work 80 hours a week if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur. Now, when you look at somebody like DDG and you look at a lot of these other people, I saw where Damon Dash was making these same comments basically. The thing about these people is they got rich in their 20s. They've been rich pretty much since they would get a job. So most of these guys have never worked at a good job. I'm not a multi-millionaire at all. You know, I am an entrepreneur and I do decent, but I'm not on their level as far as that's concerned. But the thing is, I've worked good jobs before. I've had careers before in multiple fields because it has taken me a while to get where I want to go in life. But because of that, I have real knowledge of how jobs work and how careers work. If you've never really worked a career for any amount of time, you don't know what goes into it. So you're going to glorify what you've been able to be successful at. And you're going to downplay something that you've only seen at its lowest level. If you came from the hood, if you came from the trailer park, if you came from lower middle class or poverty, that means that the people around you didn't have good careers because they would have been upper middle class or they would have been rich. So you're talking about Wendy's and why you shouldn't work 10 years on fries at the Wendy's instead of talking about maybe working at Google, starting out in HR, working your way up to vice president of this or president of that and being in a position of authority and power and making money. That's what can happen at 10 years at a job. You don't think like that because you never worked a career before a day in your life. No disrespect to DDG for that or any of these other people who give advice out on the internet, but most of them just have not really worked at careers that were actually successful careers. Also, what you gotta understand about being an entrepreneur is most entrepreneurs don't have any money. Yeah, there are some, and they're talking about the highest level of entrepreneurship where you have real money. But even with some of these guys who seem like they have money, a lot of them are working off of loans. A lot of them are one bad business deal away from owing everybody they ever knew money. A lot of them already are in that position, but they can still get a hold of some bread, get a hold of some credit cards, and be able to get all the clothes and the chains and the cars and the things like that to seem like they got money like that. And you're never going to be your own boss and set your own schedule. You got customers. Even when you get passive income, you can get passive income while you work at a 9 to 5. So that's, you know, but even if you get passive income, you generally have to work your way to the point where whatever business you have is producing passive income. It ain't like it's going to do it the first day. Oh, I just started working, you know, now all of a sudden I'm making real money enough to live off of in passive income. Most people who make millions of dollars at their business don't have millions of dollars in passive income. They don't. So this is one of the things that people run into, and this is one of the issues I have when people start talking about getting money, when people start talking about what you should do as an entrepreneur or what you should do working a 9 to 5. I'm gonna tell you this for a lot of y'all. If your 9 to 5 really isn't doing well for you and you're not getting money doing a 9 to 5, it's because you probably don't have a skill. You haven't gone to school to acquire a skill. You haven't gone to a trade school to acquire a skill. You probably don't really put the time and energy into your job. I know you don't. If you have a good job and you put the same 80 hours a week that you would have to put into starting a business, a real business is actually going to go somewhere. If you were studying for that job so that you could learn more, if you were acquiring new skills like you have to do to be successful in a business, then you would already be making mid to upper 6 figures at whatever job you're working at, or you don't have a good job. You got a crappy job. So when we talk about jobs, when we talk about careers, when we talk about getting that bread, no disrespect to DDG or anybody, but the reality is everybody can't be a boss for sure. Everybody's not going to be able to own their own business, but I don't even like to talk about that because that's like, who cares? You know, who cares if some people got to be employees? It ain't got to be you. Somebody got to shine shoes. It ain't got to be you. But everybody doesn't want to own a business. There's a lot of stress that goes into owning a business. There's a lot of financial burden that goes into owning a business, and a lot of time and energy that you got to take away from your family and people that you care about. These are things that you have to do in order to own a business. Yeah, you got to do some of those things in order to work for somebody, but the difference is when you work at a business and you have a salary or you have a wage that you're going to get, if you're sitting there folding your arms like this and relaxing, whether that business is making money or not, you're getting paid. When you work at your own business, the day that business doesn't make money, you don't make money. If the business goes under, if something bad happens with the business, you're screwed. Most entrepreneurs won't tell you this. If they get sick and they stay sick 3-4 weeks, they'll probably be broke. Now, I don't want to say we would be broke, starving, if we spent 3-4 weeks, a month or two with just no income coming in at all. Maybe, you might have a little bit in the reserves, but what I'm saying is that you'll just be depleting your money. Ain't no way for you to keep getting money if you're just totally off the table and couldn't do anything. Yeah, the passive income might be a little bit, but it ain't gonna be enough. You know that. But if you work at a good business, they got a sick program for you. Some of them got it to where you can be temporarily or permanently disabled, and they're gonna pay you, to be able to recover. There are businesses that have those type of programs. There are plenty of them. I know of them myself. Like I said, I've worked at multiple businesses. The thing about it is, what people don't teach you is they don't teach you how to find a good career. They don't teach you how to find a good company to work for. They don't teach you how to find a skill that puts you into a good career where you can work for the best companies. That's what people don't do. They just say, oh, well, it's McDonald's on the fries or be an entrepreneur. That's because you're around people who have never succeeded at any job that they've ever had. That's the people that's going to be arguing the most for, you can't make money at a 9 to 5 and I never call somebody else boss. That's like calling somebody else daddy. You don't have to do that if you have a good job, if you have a real career. You don't have to do that if you have a job that has a union. What do you even, people say this stuff, you call somebody boss is like calling them daddy. No, it's not. We have laws in the United States of America as far as companies are concerned. And if you're not even at a right to work state, or you're somewhere that has a union, or you're somewhere that you have a contract, you're not in a situation where they can just fire you because you didn't call them daddy. This is what I'm talking about. And I maybe sound a little too passionate about this because I just see people steering some of these young folks down the wrong road by just making them think that there's no good jobs out there, that you can't get a 9 to 5 and work for 20 years and be in a better position than somebody who's got a business that they've been working at for 20 years. And that's just not true. It's a dude right now who is driving a bus. Right now. He got retirement, he got health, he got life insurance. You won't see him needing a GoFundMe to bury him if he died tomorrow. He got life insurance. A lot of these entrepreneurs, a lot of these big stars and people that you look up to, they die, their family out here trying to get bread to bury them. That's the truth of entrepreneurship. It's not everything you think it is, even when you're at the highest level. A lot of times what it look like you got and what you really have are two totally different things. It may look like you got assets here, it may look like you got bread here, you might have a lot of money coming in, but you also have a lot of money going out. If you make $60,000 a year working at a job, and an entrepreneur makes $100,000 a year, or say 120, let's say he doubles what you make working as an entrepreneur, you're making more than them. I'm gonna tell you, you just take your ass to work and take your ass back home. That's what you do. They gotta pay for materials. They probably got some other employees they gotta put money into. They gotta pay for licenses and all the other different type of stuff that goes along with businesses, insurance. These are things they don't tell you when you have a business that you have to do in order to be able to make money. So when it look like, yeah, I'm making six figures in my business, blah, 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 that's not a lot of money. If you're over here making 140, 150,000 at your business, you're not making a lot of money. I know you're not making money like that. It's not. No. Now, see, when people hear 150,000, 160,000, you get people saying stuff like, oh, that's not even really a lot of money, because they think in business 150, 160,000. Salary 150, 160,000 means you probably got bonuses that you're going to get. You got health insurance, you got vacation pay, you got all kind of other little benefits. Some of y'all got a company car, some people got an apartment they can use. All of these things, you're not getting that as an entrepreneur. They got all these things that they don't even think about it, don't even count when they think about what they're getting paid. And an entrepreneur sitting over there paying for their own insurance. You get what I'm saying with that? That's going to chip away at that 100,000. That's going to chip away at the 120 or whatever that you're getting. Paying your own insurance, paying your employees, paying unemployment insurance for them. I'm telling you, it's not everything that people try to make it out to be. These are people who are operating at the top. A lot of times, I'm not trying to be funny, but a lot of times they don't even understand entrepreneurship where they are. They're just making so much money. They got so much coming in that until that money slows down and stops, that's when they find out what it really takes to be an entrepreneur. When the records don't sell like they used to, when the views on YouTube ain't coming in like they used to, when the concert money ain't hitting like it used to, that's when you start understanding the cost of being an entrepreneur and why some people would rather be a 9-to-5 worker. It's a dude right now working a job at Spotify who makes money at whether you sell, whether you get spins on Spotify, whether anybody listening to your record or not, they're making money. If nobody listens to your record, you will not make a penny off of Spotify. You get what I'm saying? So just these are things you got to think about when you ask yourself, should I go the entrepreneurship route? Should I go the 9-to-5 route? Because you got to think, when you go that 9-to-5 route, you can make money, save money, and you can invest in other people's companies that they put their blood, sweat, tears, and heart into. You could just invest in it and just bypass all that other stuff and make the same amount of money. The money Warren Buffett got in Coca-Cola, he didn't start that company. No offense to DDG, no offense to anybody, they making more money than me. But DDG ain't gonna make Warren Buffett Coca-Cola money off of anything he's doing as a business owner himself. It's not gonna happen, bro. You're not gonna make Coca-Cola again. Like, it ain't gonna happen. So no disrespect to him. He's doing really well. I really respect him. I respect what all these guys are doing, but I'm just saying, when y'all listen to these guys, especially these young dudes who got rich fast, good for them. If they want to teach you how to get rich fast, they might have some secrets that I don't. But as far as whether or not you should pick being an entrepreneur or you should work a 9-to-5, they just don't. They couldn't have a clue because they never worked a job before.